Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of the Pitchside Podcast. Like, share and subscribe to the YouTube channel, of course, to receive more updates on this episode. Follow us on social media, PSP on Twitter and at PitchsidePod on Instagram. It's a big week in Europe, of course. Let me remind you before that to listen to the podcast on Spotify, Google Podcast, or any other platform, really, to get to us wherever you are and whenever you are. It's a big week in Europe again. I think it is characterised by two big derbies, both happening on Saturday in Manchester and in Madrid. But let's start from the Premier League, of course. The fixtures start on Friday with Leeds facing West Ham United. Of course, Leeds on 14th with 14 points, facing a very rejuvenated West Ham this season, albeit the last result against Manchester United probably wouldn't be enjoyable for them. And 8th place West Ham with 17 points. They're really having a good season against a Leeds side that has fallen victim to its hype, really. Didn't meet the expectation that everybody was waiting from him and Marcelo Bielsa, the coach, of course. Everybody was waiting for him to take the Premier League by storm, but that didn't happen, quite frankly. On Saturday, of course, the start of the fixtures kicks the lunch kickoff between Wolves and Aston Villa. Another interesting game for both those sides, of course. Both Wolves and Aston Villa coming in from bad results, quite frankly. I mean, Aston Villa didn't play actually against Newcastle, but even before that, they lost their last game to West Ham before that. So they're coming in at the back of a loss pretty much, with the game against Newcastle still to be rescheduled. As for Wolves, a bad result against Liverpool on all aspects, really. A bad performance and a bad result, taking a 4-0 loss away from home to the Reds. They would need to bounce back, of course. Wolves are sitting 10th at the table with 17 points, joining the likes of West Ham and Everton with the same amount of points as well. As for Aston Villa, they really, I mean, they still lack in 2 matches, but they fell off quite a bit over the course of the last couple of weeks, standing at 12th now at 15th. After 1 point, they were top of the table, which feels really weird. On Saturday as well, there's Newcastle versus West Brom. Newcastle, of course, after not playing the game against Aston Villa, they're going to be returning, and this probably should be an easy game against West Brom for the Steve Bruce boys. Newcastle sitting at 13th with 14 points, while their opponents, of course, are relegation battlers, 6 points at 19th, and almost surefire by this point that they're going to be scrapping for survival this season. Newcastle face West Brom, as I mentioned. Everton face Chelsea also on Saturday. Big game in the Goodison Park for Carlo Ancelotti's boys, who have been, on a bit of a roller coaster as of late. We thought that they're going to have a great season because they didn't have European football on their hands. They only won once in the last 6, which is really, really horrible. Extend that to the stretch of 8 matches. They only won 2 of the last 8, which is really bad. They started really, really strong in the Premier League. We thought that we're going to be talking about title contenders, about top 4 contenders, but in the end, eventually, probably we're going to be talking about a mid-table finish. Depending on what happens, really, the season is still pretty long, though. For Chelsea, sorry, it should be a continuation of the good form they're in right now under Frank Lampard. They're really looking really, really well at the moment, gelling pretty much. They wouldn't love the fact that they're going to be missing Ziyech, though, for that game. It's going to be bad. It's going to suck for them that they're going to be missing Hakim Ziyech for another 2 weeks. Apparently, his knee injury has been re-aggravated. They're going to be missing also Callum Hudson-Odoi, probably for the same amount of number as well of weeks. This is going to be bad for Chelsea, but I think they still have options, and they still have pretty much a very decent squad to pick from whenever they want to. Frank Lampard has lots of options. Christian Pulisic, Kai Havertz, Giroud can be really good. He has a problem of picking a centre forward Not because they're both bad, but actually because they're both really playing good. He doesn't know who to pick, whether Giroud or Abraham. That's the good kind of problems that you want as a manager, to choose who's the best of two, really good players and informed players for Frank Lampard. I'm going to skip, of course, the Manchester derby. I'm going to be back to it later. I know it's on Saturday, really. If you're watching, I'm probably asking why I skipped it. I'll be back to it to focus more in depth on it. On Sunday, Southampton, rejuvenated, returning to winning form against Brighton on Monday. They host Sheffield United in a game that I really expect Southampton to win, really. It doesn't really get much easier, I think, for Southampton than winning against Brighton after drawing against Wolves, then defeating, then lost to Manchester United. They defeat Brighton on Monday, and they return to victories. They are still quite in a good place, really not that far from the top of the table, really 20 points at 5th, which is quite a good achievement, I think, for Alf Hasenhüttl this season, considering that for the last season he was, really fighting for his place at certain points. They finished in a decent spot, but again, this season they're probably aiming for better. Could we be talking about Southampton in European places, Europa League places maybe? Who knows? Again, the season's still long and we're going to wait and see. On Saturday as well, Crystal Palace, Roy Hodgson's boys, after trampling West Bromwich 5-1, and Christian Benteke making a miracle and scoring twice. I mean, I still can't believe how Christian Benteke scored twice, but it happened. It's 2020, ladies and gentlemen, for you. They host a on-form Tottenham, really. I mean, both sides are defensive, aren't they? Both sides play a certain variation of the 4-5-1 or the 3-5-2, depending on how Mourinho would set up himself. But both sides are defensive. I'm assuming there's going to be a bit of a tight game. I'm assuming Crystal Palace are going to be the ones who are going to be regressing because they don't want to open themselves to the counters. But this season, I think, in a couple of occasions, they proved that they can be offensive, that Roy Hodgson can, change his style and can be offensive, but probably that won't work against a compact side of Tottenham that really defend really strongly. I'm not going to say that they defend like 10 in the box and all. I mean, almost looks like that, but they defend really well. They're really compact. They play very well on the counter. I mean, if Crystal Palace are going to be leaving themselves open even slightly, they're going to be hurting themselves. Kane and Son combination is really doing wonders at the moment for the Premier League, at least. For Tottenham, they had a hard win in the Europa League against Antwerp, of course, without both these guys, without either Son or Kane, starting with Carlos Vinicius getting his start with the club, playing with Lucas Moura and Gareth Bale getting a start in the Europa League. Crystal Palace are going to be missing Kelly, Wayne Hennessy, Ferguson and Wickham, while Tottenham's only injury at the moment is Eric Lamela. Aside from that, they have a full squad of players to choose from. Fulham host Liverpool, an easy game again for Liverpool, who rested a lot of their first teamers on Wednesday, of course, to play against Midland and draw that. Not disappointing really, except expected from Liverpool, seeing who they played. Really, Midland had nothing to lose. They were out of the competition, so they played their hearts out in the game, basically, and got a historic draw, I would say. Liverpool should be, I think, in a very comfortable position to beat Fulham. They got themselves back on track. I think the machine is now working quite well, considering the defensive issues and the absences they had for the last couple of months, really. Van Dijk, Gomez, Trent Alexander-Arnold finally returned to the side. Not settling on a combination of centre-halves, Reece Williams, Fabinho, Matip, using all of this as combinations of centre-halves. Finally now they seem to have a proper understanding of what they're doing. Comin Kelleher seems to be the first choice at the moment until Alisson certainly returns to full fitness. For Fulham, it is as straightforward could get, really. They're all 17th. They're not in the relegation spots yet, but a bad result here could see them back down depending on what Burnley, West Bromwich or Sheffield United would do in their own fixtures. But again, I expect really Liverpool to have an easy win over Fulham. They haven't been that good this season. 7 points with 2 victories only from 11 games and conceding 21 goals, the weakest. You expect the weakest defence in the league, the second weakest defence in the league, of course. West Brom are the first with 23 goals conceded. You expect them to take some goals, really. I think it's going to be a comfortable score for Liverpool. They are on form and they need to pick up momentum, to keep up the momentum going, because they can't afford to drop points. They know that it's not going to be comfortable as last season Jurgen Klopp's boys. Also today as well, Leicester City hosting Brighton. After, of course, the victory against Sheffield United, the hard victory against Sheffield United last time out for Leicester City, and of course the victory in the Europa League as well against AEK Athens. They finish top of the group in the Europa League and they qualify, of course, to the round of 32, which is good for them. They return back to Premier League action and they face Brighton. Brighton, who are, I always feel that about Brighton, they play really well, but they never rewarded for their good performances. I hope they do. I hope they are rewarded for their good performances. I hope they get the result that they need sometime, but Leicester also need to pick up momentum. It's surprising, I think, for how inconsistent as of late Leicester could be. The fact that they are only 3 points behind Liverpool and Tottenham, which is, it's just unbelievable when you think about it. The latest results for Leicester City suggest that they should have been a little bit down in the table, but they aren't, and they are doing really well, I think, at the moment, behind the 3 at the top. They have a chance to go joint top, of course, if Tottenham and Liverpool lose before them, but I don't think that would happen, really. Anyway, and the last game, of course, on Sunday, it will be Arsenal, who are a lost cause in the Premier League at the moment. Twitter is a wonderful place to look at, and the amount of people who are trolling Arsenal thinking that they're going to be relegated this season is incredible. I don't think Arsenal are going to be relegated. That is a very, very far stretch from reality. But they're not going to be finishing in the top 6. I'm going to be straightforward. They're not going to be finishing in the top 6. I don't expect that. If they pick up this season, if they pick up their season from the scratch and they start racking some good results, if they, for the next 7 to 8 games which are left in the first half of the season, if they rack up some wins, then I'll probably talk about them in a better light, and maybe I would say they are ready for a better finish. But at the moment, it doesn't look so, and they don't look that good as far as finishing in a top position in the table is concerned, against a Burnley side who are languishing in the relegation. They are really doing badly at the moment at 18th, but who could still be tough whenever the opposition requires so. So back now to the Manchester derby. Let's focus on that derby for a moment, shouldn't we? Manchester United, of course, coming off that horrendous exit of the Champions League. I don't know if they're going to be looking for redemption, looking for a better result, looking just for not to lose. There's a whole lot of conflicting thoughts now for Ole Gunnar Solskjaer and for his guys to try and deal with this, try and deal with the game that they have at hand at the moment. They know that they can't really afford another loss, despite the fact that somehow when they need results, they pull off results. But that didn't happen against Leipzig, so you have to ask yourself, is this going to be the final blow? Is this finally going to, put Solskjaer off his misery and get him the sack from Manchester United job? Because that almost happened when they lost to Başakşehir in the Champions League earlier on, and then they saved their season almost with 3-0 wins on the trot. Then they lose to Leipzig. Then they lose to PSG, and then they lose to Leipzig. The West Ham win in between was a false dawn, obviously, and everybody thought, well, United are going to be doing it, United are going to be winning against Leipzig, they're going to be in the round of 16, but they're not. They are in the Europa League. They're going to be enjoying another season in the lower tier of European club competition. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer seems to find a way somehow to win against Manchester City. His record really, I think, speaks for itself. They defeated them, on two occasions last season. One of them, of course, was in the EFL Cup semi-final, second leg, and of course they defeated them in the league back to back. Remember, also they defeated Tottenham before that. So they found a way to get the best results that they can. But I think it's not the same story this season. They lost 6-1 to Tottenham. They had a bad record at home until late United. Comparatively, they're still low on home record. They're 17th at the table if you count the home record. They only have 4 points from 5 games at home. Only 1 victory at home, believe it or not, in the Premier League against West Bromwich United, and the draw against Chelsea was all the points that they have from home matches this season. For Manchester City, it's quite the easy task. It's, win for Guardiola and get the result that you need to keep moving up the table. They are in direct competition. Manchester City are 1 point ahead of Man United, 1 point ahead of Manchester City, but both have 1 game missing, of course. Man United is still to face Burnley, Manchester City still going to be facing Aston Villa. The focus is going to be on Solskjaer again. This is never about Guardiola, isn't it? Guardiola entered this match as favourite. I think they entered this match more comfortable than Solskjaer. At least the fact that everybody knows that Guardiola's job by this point does not depend on the Premier League. He extended his contract to 2023. You don't know what are the conditions, of course. Wink, wink for the listeners. There's rumours, rumblings that the contract extension was a ploy to convince Guardiola that, okay, stay and we're going to bring you Messi to the club. Everybody talking about that. Maybe it's true, maybe it's not. It's comfortable for Guardiola. They haven't been exactly on a good form themselves, Manchester City. They win in the Premier League. They have 4 wins out of the last 5 matches in all competitions. Including, of course, twice in the Premier League. 2 comfortable victories, I would say, in the Premier League against both Burnley and Fulham, which is really expected. You expect Manchester City to defeat Burnley and Fulham this season. But, again, Manchester City, I think they're going to work to their template, and this is probably the best match for Man United to work according to their template of play, which is playing on the counter. So this might surprise you to say this, but I actually think United could pull off something here and could pull off a win altogether. But that will depend on how Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is going to be managing the game, depending on which personnel is going to choose for that. Will he choose the right players, especially in the midfield, especially in the defence? The defence, I don't think he has too many options really. The whole defence is a shambles at the moment, and whichever 4 is going to be playing in the back, if they include one of Maguire or Lindelof at centre-half, it's going to be a disaster. I think it's going to be really, really bad, and expect probably some serious mistakes to be made by those 2 who haven't been disappointing when it comes to the mistakes department. Manchester United, they need the victory. Manchester City, they needed to get up the table, of course. 6th is not good for Manchester City, or 7th actually is not good for Manchester City, but for United it's more pressure on Solskjaer on his own. I don't think that the fans will be disappointed if they lose against City, because I think in their deep of hearts they know that City is better than them as a squad, so they probably be hoping, quote unquote, to United to lose so they can get rid of Solskjaer, get maybe Pochettino on the job and try a new start. The big question here is, how many times can Solskjaer save himself? How many times can he avoid defeat? How many times can he avoid sacking? I mean, the problem is not only in him; it's also in the board of Manchester United. But the fans, I think, they will put him as the first scapegoat, and then they will take care, I think, of the board for them. So, in my opinion, I feel weird, but I think Man United could pull something off, and this is a big if for them if they pull something off. I don't think that would save Solskjaer even, because I think his time is really approaching an end at Manchester United. That was all for the Premier League this week. Of course, all focus is on the Manchester derby for loads of reasons. All focus is on the Manchester derbies, of course. Moving on, and we go to the other derby. We go to the other league that has a big derby in it, and we go to Spain. Of course, that is the Madrid derby is this Saturday, but not before the rest of the fixtures. On Friday, Valladolid, of course, faces Osasuna in the. This is the Friday, so no one cares game of the week. On Saturday, Valencia host Atletico Bilbao, Getafe host Sevilla, Huesca host Alaves, Real Sociedad host Eibar, that's on Sunday, Betis host Villarreal on Sunday, Elche host Granada, Barcelona host Levante, and Celta Vigo host Cadiz, that is on Monday to finish around 13th. Let's get back to the Saturday derby, of course, now. Real Madrid versus Atletico Madrid, the final stage of hell for Zidane, isn't it? He got through the Sevilla test last Saturday, he got through the Mönchengladbach test on Wednesday, and he now looks ahead to getting through the toughest test of the three, probably, considering how things are going at the moment, against a Atletico Madrid side that seems different this season. That seems, the same defensive, defensive, very compact Atletico side with Simeone, the hard working side, but with more effectiveness and venom in the attack, I would say. It feels weird to say this, but indeed it is. It feels like a real change for Simeone this season. He decided finally probably to focus a little bit more on working the offensive side of his game. He changed his sort of formation into a hybrid 5 in the back, a 5-4-1 with Hermoso doing a double job as both a left back and a third centre half at one point, with Kieran Trippier on the right. Mostly it could be Yannick Carrasco on the left. He could still play with Renan Lodi. Renan Lodi, I feel bad for him. The guy is really good. He's been decent for Atletico, but he's sitting on the bench because Yannick Carrasco is doing so well in that job, and he offers, of course, the potent threat of a winger forward. Joao Felix this season has been blossoming. He's been one of the best players of Atletico. Finally, after one full season of mishappenings, of missed opportunities, of waiting on the real Joao Felix to appear. Will the real Joao Felix please stand up? He finally stood up, and he started, marshalling the play for Atletico Madrid. Now every attack for Atletico Madrid passes through Joao Felix, which is nice to see. If you are an Atletico Madrid fan, it's nice to see a record-signing player who was brought for 126 million euros finally doing the work that he was assigned for. They will, of course, still miss Diego Costa for injury and Jose Maria Jimenez, but they won't have a real problem. I think Angel Correa would do just fine. Thomas Lemar has been rejuvenated completely this season. He's finding his niche, scoring goals and doing what he was supposed to do. The guy was almost lost in the shuffle. We're almost going to be talking about another case of Griezmann or Eden Hazard, or maybe similar to those guys and similar to Christian Eriksen at Inter as well. Talking about some guy who doesn't get featured a lot despite his potential. Thomas Lemar rejuvenated himself. He got himself into a good form. He started scoring. Atletico Madrid now feel like a proper threat to La Liga's title, and they should be, after this derby, depending on the result, the leading horses, I think, to the Liga title race against Real Madrid. And speaking of Real Madrid, Again, for Zidane, this is the final stage of hell. Despite the fact that they played really well against Mönchengladbach, I would still put an asterisk against this performance because Mönchengladbach didn't help themselves. They were bad, they were lifeless. Mönchengladbach didn't really give them a lot to work for, didn't give them a lot of tense moments, if at all. They barely had one big chance in the game. So for Real Madrid, I think this is the real test against a side that is performing consistently in La Liga, in Atletico Madrid, the strongest defense. I think not just in La Liga. I think it's stronger defense in all across the big five leagues. I mean, I'm almost sure of that. I'm really sure of that. I'm positive, because in Germany it is Leipzig. With 9 goals, they are the strongest defense. In Italy, I think it's Juventus with 7. So I'm assuming 7 or 8 goals. So definitely the strongest side in the top 5 leagues in Europe, which is going to give them an extra dimension. So for Real Madrid, this is about now working hard. If the game against Mönchengladbach was about, taking advantage of what have you, and taking advantage of the chances that you have, I think the game against Atletico Madrid will be more hard work than anything for them, to try and get through that midfield of Atletico Madrid, to try and really put Atletico Madrid to the press, try to force Madrid into being ineffective, which I don't think that they really can. Again, for Zidane, he needs to work a little bit harder. I think he needs to keep on using the fresh legs of Rodrigo. But still, I mean, he won't find an easy target, I think, to pick apart, just like he did against Borussia Mönchengladbach, where he saw the weakness in the left back position in their side and decided to utilize it to the full potential, using Rodrigo and Lucas Vazquez, venturing forward. He won't be venturing forward that much because you're leaving space behind to someone like Yannick Carrasco, to someone like Thomas Lemar, to someone like Angel Correa to run behind you all day long. And there's, of course, Marcus Llorente on the other side, who is incredible. I mean, his hard work, being played as a sort of a right winger, doesn't really seem to work on paper, but it works so good in reality. Him and Kieran Trippier opening a very strong front on the right hand side. A chance for Real Madrid to extend their advantage over Atletico Madrid in the derbies. Of course, in the last La Liga derbies, excluding, of course, the Super Cup derby, excluding the friendly that took place late in 2019, where Atletico Madrid dropped Real Madrid 7-3, and we all thought, okay, Atletico Madrid, it's going to be their season, but in the end, it wasn't. In the last sort of, since 2017, in the Champions League, it was in the Champions League playoffs. That was the last time Atletico Madrid defeated Real Madrid, in all competitions. If you want to look at the last time they did them in La Liga, I think you have to scratch really way back, I would say, to 2016. Believe it or not, they defeated them in La Liga. Of course, at that season, they defeated them in the Santiago Bernabeu. Griezmann was a part of that game. Of course, he scored against Real Madrid to give them the 3 points at that time. That was the last time Atletico Madrid, simply won a derby in La Liga, home or away. And then for the next 10 Madrid derbies in La Liga, they couldn't defeat them. They defeated them, of course, in the Champions League. They defeated them in the Super Cup. In the European Super Cup or the Spanish Super Cup, they had a couple of friendly wins against them, but they never defeated them in La Liga since 2016, which is quite a long period when you're talking about Atletico Madrid defeating Real Madrid. This might be their season. If they defeat Real Madrid and they manage to do that, I think we're going to be talking about title contender and title credentials for sure for Atletico Madrid. For Zidane, it will be a step in the wrong direction after we thought, okay, they got out of that hole they dug themselves into and they will do well this season, but that will be a big regression if they lose in the derby. Real Madrid still missing Luka Jovic, Martin Odegaard, and Eden Hazard, so it might deprive them of some options, although I think they're doing well at the moment with what they have. So let's see what is going to happen. Karim Benzema is doing really well. We're going to see what is going to happen between Real Madrid and Atletico Madrid. The strongest defense in La Liga. We'll see how they're going to be doing against Real Madrid. This is going to be hard for both sides, I think, but I think it's going to be harder for Real Madrid. Moving on. So this is, let's want to do with the standings first before we move on. In Spain, Atletico Madrid are first with 26 points, still lacking 2 games, of course. Real Sociedad 25 points, Villarreal 21 at third, Real Madrid at fourth, Cadiz, yes, Cadiz, believe it or not, are 18 at fifth, Sevilla 16, Granada 15, Betis 15, Barcelona at ninth with 14, Elche, Eibar, Alaves all with 14 points, Valencia 13 points alongside Bilbao, Getafe and Celta Vigo 17, Levante with 11 points, and then relegation spots 11 for Osasuna at 18th, Valladolid 10th, and Huesca, aka Mr. Draw, at 20. From La Liga, I move quickly to Italy, and it's I don't think it's an uneventful fixture in Italy. There's not that big of games in round 11 of the Serie A. It starts on Friday with Sassuolo hosting Benevento, the surprise package of the season. They regressed, they regressed back to 5th in the table after drawing against Roma, and before that, the loss against Inter, of course. So they're going to be looking to bounce back. I expected them to do better against Roma. I really did, but they really disappointed me. I like to watch them really this season. They play sort of a similar style to Atalanta, but I think with much more defensive compactness, I would say, than Atalanta do sometimes. On Saturday, at the lunchtime kickoff, it's going to be Crotone hosting Spezia in a bottom table battle. Torino hosting Udinese in the same context as well. Lazio, fresh of their almost scary Champions League qualification to the round of 16, they face off against Verona, another surprise side and one of the strongest defences in Europe at the moment. Cagliari host Inter, that is on Sunday. Napoli hosting Sampdoria, Bologna hosting AS Roma, Atalanta hosting Fiorentina, Genoa host Juventus, and AC Milan host Parma. Interesting points, I think, to look forward in the Inter game, travelling to Cagliari, how they're going to be dealing after exiting the Champions League in a miserable way, I think, against Shakhtar Donetsk. Napoli, fresh of their qualification to the Europa League round of 32 alongside Sociedad in the same group. They're going to be back playing Sampdoria, an easy test probably for them. Atalanta, fresh of their qualification as well, they're going to be hosting Fiorentina, hoping to get their season right on track in La Liga, because they've been wobbly for quite a while. Gasperini threatened to resign last week, but he didn't, and he's still with the club. Let's see what's going to happen. Juventus, fresh of a big win against Barcelona in the Champions League, 3-0 away from home at the Camp Nou. They're going to be travelling to Genoa. Tricky game, but I expect Juventus to go through it. And AC Milan, still missing Zlatan Ibrahimovic, but they are doing well regardless. They are doing really well. At the moment, their latest, of course, achievement, their latest triumph is AC Milan, is the victory against Sparta Prague away from home, a goal from Hauge, that Norwegian Jens Hauge. I mean, the guy is just brilliant. This is his first goal that he scored with AC Milan against Sparta Prague away from home. He's wonderful. I mean, the sky is the limit for that guy. I watched him for a couple of minutes against Napoli the other time, and he's incredible. The guy is a pure talent, from the probably a surging golden generation for Norway. That is what I'm going to say, with the likes of Haaland, Martin Odegaard, Alexander Sørloth. I mean, it's going to be an incredible generation for Norway. Maybe in 3-4 years' time, by the time the next Euros come around, not the right ones, not the next one, not the 2021 Euro. I think the next one in 2024 probably is going to be the peak of that Norwegian side. Watch out for them. An easy win probably on the cards for Milan. Looking that Parma are really struggling this season, for a side that finished in the bottom, in the top half of the table last season. They are struggling really well at 16th in the table. From Italy, we finish, of course, and we round up the action in the Bundesliga. Also, an uneventful fixture in the Bundesliga, of course. All 4 German teams in the competition in the Champions League qualified. By Leverkusen as well managed the qualification in the Europa League, and so did Hoffenheim, who they are facing, of course, against each other in the Bundesliga. Of course, Hoffenheim, somehow contrasting to their form in the Bundesliga, they managed to qualify top of their group in the Europa League. Bayern Leverkusen qualifying easily top of their group in the Europa League as well. The Bundesliga starts with Wolfsburg facing Eintracht Frankfurt. Very interesting game on Friday, really. If you have nothing, you probably should check this out. Dortmund hosts Stuttgart on Saturday. Fresh of the Champions League qualification, of course, fresh of Moukoko starting coming as a sub, playing 30 minutes in the Champions League as the youngest player ever to lace a pair of boots in the Champions League games. Mönchengladbach, fresh of a qualification, hard qualification, I would say, eventually against Hertha Berlin at home. Freiburg hosts Arminia Bielefeld. Mainz face Köln in a bottom table battle. RB Leipzig host Werder Bremen in a vanity game for the Roten Bullen after their qualification in the Champions League. Union Berlin hosts Bayern Munich in another hard game for Bayern Munich. Union Berlin really surprised me this season. They are one of the best sides to watch, I think, in the Bundesliga. And Augsburg hosts Schalke, that is on Monday, as well as Bayern Leverkusen, of course, as I mentioned, hosting Hoffenheim. Remind you with the standings of the Bundesliga before this game. Bayern Munich 23 points at the top, Leverkusen 22 points behind them at second, Leipzig 21 points, 19 for Dortmund at fourth, 18 for Wolfsburg, 16 for Union Berlin and Mönchengladbach respectively, at 8th Stuttgart with 14, Eintracht Frankfurt with 13 points, 12 for both Hoffenheim and Augsburg at 10th and 11th, Hertha Berlin at 12th with 11 points alongside Werder Bremen, Freiburg with 8 points, 7 for Köln at 15th, 7 for Arminia Bielefeld at 16th, 17th is Mainz with 5, and Schalke hapless at the bottom table with 3 points. That was all we got for the Premier. That was all we got for the preview of the week in all the big competitions across Europe. Remind you in the end to like, comment, share the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel to receive more updates of the podcast. Listen to us on Spotify, Google Podcasts, or wherever you listen to podcasts from. Follow us on social media. I'm at PitchSidePod on Instagram, SidePSP on Twitter. Until I see you tomorrow, I was your boy the HOD with PSP, and goodbye.